joining me. My name is Mary. Welcome to your practice. I'm going to be going over some basic yoga poses today with some modifications. So a chair and yoga blocks and a blanket could come in handy for your practice today. Let's get started. We'll begin with one of the foundational poses of yoga, which is Tadasana or mountain pose. So bring your feet about hip width distance apart. Really feel your feet settling into the earth. You might even feel like all four corners of your feet in the ground. Now bring awareness to your knees and notice if you're locking your knees and see if you can bring a slight bend to your knees so the muscles of your legs do more work, and that gives relief to your knee joints. Now stand up tall. Imagine that somebody's pulling a string from the top of your head. Feel the length along your spine, expansion between each bone of your vertebrae. Now to set your shoulders, first bring your shoulders up towards your ears and then bring your shoulders down and back. So you'll feel an opening across your chest. And we'll just stay here for a moment and just feel what it feels like to stand in this pose. Feel the length in your body. Feel the energy that you feel as your body comes into your natural position. And this is a great pose to do many times throughout the day. Get in the habit of standing in mountain pose. Maybe something like standing at your stove cooking, or perhaps whenever you get up from a sitting position, just reset your posture. So the next pose we'll do is a forward fold. So you could have your blocks handy. So when you're doing a forward fold, be very conscious of your lower back. So we always want to keep our low back safe and stable. So to do that is when you're doing a forward fold, first bend your knees. So you could have a chair handy for stability. And once you have your knees bent, then hinge at your hips. And as you're folding, you could have your hands on the chair. Let your neck relax. Maybe your hands could come to a block or all the way to the floor. So you'll feel, if you're moving towards the floor, you'll feel your chest resting on your thighs. As your neck relaxes, feel the length along your spine. And then when you come up, press your feet into the earth. Use your leg muscles to help you rise up, keeping your chin tucked. And then come back up to mountain pose or Tadasana. So the next pose we'll do is downward facing dog. So we'll start by using a chair. So what you will do is step back from your chair so your arm's length distance away. From here, stretch your arms wide. Feel the length along your whole arm. And then stand on your tippy toes. So you might have to adjust your feet a little bit. And what you'll be working towards is drawing your hips up towards the sky and your heels towards the ground. So notice my heels aren't touching the ground. You're just working towards that movement. So this is a great place to start to get the feeling of having that length in the back of your legs. So to do downward dog on the mat, you would first come to all fours position. Spread your fingers wide. Place a little bit of extra weight on your index finger and thumb. Your knees will be about hip width distance apart. Now curl your toes and then lift your knees off the ground and then lift your hips towards the sky. So feeling that same length along your spine, lifting your tailbone to the sky, your heels toward the ground, relaxing your neck, so letting the crown of your head move towards the earth. And you'll feel like you're moving your chest towards your thighs. So you can modify this pose if it feels too much for your wrists. You can walk your feet up to shorten your stance and maybe even bend your legs. So giving your wrists some relief. So from here, we'll move into a pose called cat-cow. So once again, finding that placement of your hands, so your hands are underneath your shoulders, fingers spread, knees hip-width distance apart. And we're going to, on an inhale, bring chest and tailbone up. Exhale, tuck in your tailbone, tuck your chin, rainbow your spine. And we'll do that with breath. So breathing in, not craning your neck too much, and out. Breathing in as your chest comes forward, tailbone up. Exhaling, chin to chest, tuck in your tailbone. And then come to neutral spine, and we'll sink into child's pose. Rest your forehead on the mat. If that doesn't feel good, you could rest your forehead on some blocks, just having your forearms beside you. And you can play with your knee placement, maybe bringing your knees wide if you're having trouble getting breath. But if that is hard on your knees, you could bring your knees together. So play around with those knee placements. So those are the basic poses that we'll do in our practice today. Let's go through them in a flow. So you could keep your chair and blocks right here in case you need them. So begin by coming to the front of your mat, and we'll start in mountain pose. So find your mountain pose grounded in the earth, knees slightly bent, shoulders down and back. You could close your eyes here and just feel the energy moving through your body. So bring your arms up and out, and then bring your hands through your heart, bend your knees, come into forward fold. Let your neck relax. Now plant your hands, step back into all fours, and we'll do cat-cow. So breathing in as your chest comes up and tailbone up. Exhaling, rainbowing your spine, tucking your tailbone and your chin. And just move with your own breath. Notice if you're locking your elbows, and just give a little slight bend to your elbows. Just giving, once again, your joints some relief. And then come to neutral spine. Curl your toes. Bring your hips high and back to downward dog. You'll have a slight bend to your knees, or maybe bend your knees a lot, depending on what your level of flexibility is. And we're going to start to pedal our feet. So as both feet come up, inhale, and then exhale, one heel to the ground, and then the next. And then we're going to come back to all fours and sink into child's pose. Now come back up to all fours. Curl your toes back up to downward dog. And we'll take little baby steps up, bringing feet to hands, come to a halfway lift. So from here, your back will be very straight. The crown of your head will be forward. Your hands could be on your thighs. And then we're going to just rise up from here, bringing your arms out and up, and then bringing your hands to your heart and down to your sides. And know that if you have some shoulder issues, you can just bring your arms up part way. So just go to a distance that feels good for you. So from here, we're going to step our left foot back and come into what is known as a warrior two stance. So your front knee will be bent at about a 90-degree angle, Your back foot will be pointed at about a 45-degree angle. So those are just general guidelines. Find a position where you feel nice stability in your stance. So you start with your hands on your hips. Now from here, turn your hips to the left and then bring your arms out to your sides. And settle in to your pose, really stretching your arms long from front to back. Now flip your right palm, and as you breathe in, we're going to reverse. So reaching overhead, so feeling extension and length in your right side body. Your left hand will be draping along the back of your left leg. And then we'll come back to Warrior Two. From here, we're going into side ankle pose. So place your left hand on left hip, right elbow to right knee, or you could use your chair for support. What we're looking at is bringing our chest open, so drawing left shoulder back. And then press back up to Warrior Two, and then step your left foot to meet your right, and we'll settle back into mountain pose. And take a breath here, just feeling the effects of your practice. Now come to the front of your mat again. This time step your right foot back, finding that Warrior Two stance. So maybe needing to adjust your foot placement so you can find some nice stability. And once you find that, place your hands on your hips. And then this time turn your hips towards the right and then bring your arms out to the sides. Once again, feeling that length, stretching your arms in both directions, and then settling in as you gaze over your left fingertips. When you're ready to take a breath in, flip your left palm and reach overhead to reverse, this time feeling the nice stretch along your left side body. And then come back to Warrior Two. And then place right hand on right hip, left elbow to left knee, or using chair for support. And then opening up, bringing your right shoulder back. So if you notice that you're more towards the ground, use the chair for support and find that opening across your chest. And then press into your left leg to come back to Warrior Two. And then we'll step our right foot to meet left. Take a nice breath in, arms out and up. Bring your hands to your heart and down to your sides. Now from here, we'll come to a seated position. You could use a blanket for support. So having your hips a little bit higher than your knees. So you could come to a cross-legged position. If that doesn't feel good for you, feel free to sit on your chair. So working towards finding a position where you can find some comfort and stillness for this part of your practice. So we're going to be holding our index finger and thumb together and placing those either on your lap or on your knees. And gently close your eyes if that feels comfortable. And we're just going to tune into breath. So just noticing the length of inhales and exhales. So you might notice yourself counting inhale 1, 2, and then exhaling 1, 2. And just notice where your breath is, where your starting point is. And then begin to work towards lengthening your exhales. So if you counted 2 for an inhale, count 3 for exhale. And just continue to work with your own breath in that manner, finding a place where you're still feeling comfort in your breath, where you don't feel like you're gasping for air. So you might work up towards inhaling for 3 and exhaling for 4. Inhaling for 4, exhaling for 5. And when you find that place where you feel your breath lengthened and still feel comfortable with your breath, just fall into a pattern of using that breathing pattern. And know that this is a breath that can help you relax. So if you're feeling stressed, you can always come back to your breath and use this pattern of inhaling for a shorter amount of time than your exhale. So now come back to your natural breath, and you can stay here in a seated position if that's comfortable, or we're coming to the last part of our practice. So typically in a yoga class that's called Shavasana or corpse pose. So traditionally your arms will be spread alongside you, not touching your body. Your feet will be in a slight V, and finding relaxation in the pose. So sometimes this is tough on the lower back. So if you have low back issues, you could either keep your knees up or maybe place a blanket underneath your knees. And if this position doesn't work for you, simply find a position that is comfortable to you, where you can find stillness for our last bit of practice. So feel yourself settling in. Notice if you're holding tension in any areas of your body. Start with your shoulders and just bring awareness to your shoulders. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, allow the muscles to relax. Bring awareness to your back, your upper back, mid back, and low back. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, let all of the muscles of your back relax and feel yourself settling in. Bring awareness to your arms. Notice if there's any tension lingering there. Your upper arms, your elbow, forearms, and fingers. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, allow the muscles of your arms to completely relax. Bring awareness to your legs, your thighs, your knees, calves, heels, and toes. Take a breath in, and then allow the muscles of your legs to completely relax. Bring awareness to your face. Notice if you're holding tension, maybe a slight frown, a tightness in your jaw or your tongue, and allow yourself to let go and relax. Now that your body is relaxed, bring awareness to your mind and take a moment to notice what's going on and what thoughts are coming to you. Just notice, bring awareness, notice what's there. Now imagine that the thoughts as they pop in are like thought bubbles in a cartoon. The thought will come in, become aware of it, and just imagine that it pops and let it go. And maybe another thought will come to your mind. Perhaps it's the same thought, and just follow the same practice, noticing the thought, acknowledging the thought, and letting it pop away. And as you're practicing here, know that you can use your breath to find yourself anchored if you're coming distracted with your thoughts. Notice a thought, allow it to pop, come back to your breath. So now let yourself relax and not worry about anything. Just allow yourself to be. Bring awareness back to your breath, perhaps lengthening your inhales and exhales. And as you start to breathe more deeply, feel the energy coming back in your body. So your breath brings energy and oxygen. You might feel your fingers and your toes start to feel some movement as the energy comes into your body. Maybe some movements in your arms and legs. So when you're ready, roll on to a side. It could be your left side or right side, whatever's calling you. And use your arm on the side that you've chosen, like a little pillow, maybe bringing your knees to your chest in fetal position. And take a moment in gratitude, thanking yourself for coming to practice today, taking care of your body and your mind. And then when you're ready, you can press yourself up to a seated position. And when you arrive, draw your hands to your heart. Thank you for practicing today. Namaste.